Hey everyone, welcome to the stream. We will get started in just about 15 minutes from now. See who's here. Hey Arlie, welcome to my mod, Arlie, as well as, let's see who else is here. Can't scroll up on the tablet, but I can check on my computer. Let's see. See Cheryl here. Any other members here? We actually got a lot of members recently. I feel like just less than a month ago, we actually hit a new member goal and I added a new emoji. That's the one with KeyCat holding up the 100. But then already we're only 2 members away again from our next emoji. So if there's an emoji you guys would like to see, please let me know in the Discord chat. Oh yeah, that's one of the announcements I want to make for today is that, remember, I have a fully, what am I trying to say? 24/7, always open. I was trying to say fully and open. And it's a place where you can come to practice Korean, chit chat with others about things that you like. You know, people talk about K-pop there and just practice what you're learning. And of course, it's completely free. And you can find a link to the Discord in the description of this video you're watching right now. Also, if it's your first time, yes, Arlie, that's the emoticon right there. I always know, is it an emoticon or an emote or an emoji? What is the difference? Is this like am I having like a senior moment? Like, what is the difference between emoji, emoticon, and emote? Okay, emoticon, isn't that like the little smiley face you do with like your keyboard? Emote, I know Twitch, they call them emotes. But then what's emoji? Or is that the emoji? I don't know. Maybe the emojis are like the regular faces that are like images. And then the emotes are like other things that represent emotions. I don't know. Okay. Everyone calls emojis. Yeah, I still feel like emoji feels the most natural for me, especially since they made that terrible emoji movie. I just feel like everything's like, it's an emoji. It's an emoji. If it's like a little symbol you're putting down in the chat, that's an emoji. All right. If you're here and you're new, so people might be joining right now. They're like, why are you talking about emojis, Billy? Aren't you going to teach Korean? I always start right on time. So you're early. We will start at 2 o'clock, which is coming up in about 13 minutes. Oh, hey, Lauren, just as I was talking about members. Thank you. Put you up here as a new member. That was, I don't know why I made the box with like 4 lines like that. That looks horrible. Let's go back to making a circle. Welcome, Lauren. I know you've been a member before. Welcome back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dabs for the $5 member. Yes. Oh yeah, so before we get started, of course, I have some announcements for today, as I do for every class. If you are a Patreon member, one of my Patreon supporters, you can be the $1 tier all the way up to the $25 tier. You all get access to worksheets and the outlines for every stream that I do. In fact, you can get the outline for the very first stream that I did on there right now. And those are available to all of my Patreons. It doesn't matter what your level is. That's just something you get for supporting me even a little bit. Oh, hey, another member, like right just as I was speaking about members. Okay, well, I guess maybe we hit our goal already. I'll have to see, unless someone else, like, their subscription ends today or something. Bethany Alice, welcome. I don't think you've been a member before. Welcome to my channel. As a member, you also get access to these abridged videos. So after the live stream finishes, I cut the whole live stream, usually like an hour and a half, down to a 10 or 20 minute video, and that'll go up tonight on my channel. So if you'd like to review this topic, or you just, you know, I'm a head on out right now, like, you know, you don't want to stick around for the lesson, you just want to watch the review, that's okay. Everyone who's a member of this channel gets access to watch the abridged versions tonight. If you are a regular subscriber, thank you so much, but you have to wait until later in the week. Usually it'll be Wednesday or Thursday when the episode will go up. Lately it's been Wednesday, but that's because of my beginner course. Once my beginner course finishes, there's about 10 more episodes, then I'm going to start uploading the abridged versions on Thursday or Friday. So it'll go a little bit later. So yeah, as a member, you'll have a little bit you'll get them a little bit earlier than other people. But anyway, these are all free. I do appreciate any support you are able to give, but these classes will always be open and free to everyone. Another announcement. I have one-to-one tutoring for those of you who are interested in it. There is also information. Well, you can ask for information in the chat and someone will send a link to that. But I do one-to-one tutoring. I only have a few spots open though. It's not something I do a lot, but it is something that's available for people who have asked me. Other announcements, let's see. Oh yes, and the most important announcement, well, to some people, is that next Sunday there will be no live class. That's right, next Sunday. That is February 28th, I believe, yep. February 28th, next Sunday, there is no class, all right? We do classes 3 in a row. So I do Sunday, the next Sunday, the next Sunday, and then 1 week off. So this coming Sunday is the week off. Now, why do I do that? Just so I have a break to do other things. Well, this week I'm also gonna have to file my taxes, which is gonna be the least favorite week of my entire life. Is every year, once a year, when I have to file my taxes and try to scatter, like grab everything, like $5 from this PayPal, $20 from this website, you know, everything together. So that'll be fun, but that's what I'm gonna be doing with my week off. That is all of the announcements we have for today. So while we're still getting ready for our class, which will start in about 9 minutes, take a look at the prerequisites for the class today. These are, these are pretty high level, prerequisites. Now, if you are not familiar with the topic and subject markers already, unfortunately, this beginner class about the object marker might be a bit too difficult, if I can say that. The reason is, in order to use the object marker is only used with action verbs. In order to use an action verb, you need to know how to conjugate an action verb. Now, what else are used with action verbs? Well, you'll have a subject, someone or something that is doing that action. So unless you're familiar with these topics already, then this is the bare minimum for understanding the object marker beyond any sort of basic details. And we're going to be going into a lot of details for today. Oh, another new member, Joe Turner? Turner. I like your last name. I can only think of one thing when I think of it though. Timmy is an average kid that no one understands. Dun, dun. That's all I think of when I think of Turner now. But I actually knew a couple people with the last name Turner before that show came out. Anyway, welcome, thank you. Oh, and I also didn't give dabs to Bethany before, I think, too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank you. Welcome to all of our 3 new members today. We've still got about 7 minutes before we start the live class. Oh yeah, and before we get started, so you're looking at these prerequisites, you might be thinking, Billy, this is gonna be a super easy class. I am an intermediate, should I even stick around? Yes. This lesson, as you know, if you've been here before, all of my lessons cover multiple levels. So even though it's tagged as a beginner lesson, that only means we're starting with beginner. So if you're a beginner, yeah, you'll learn how to use the object marker in today's lesson. At least you'll get a better understanding of how to use it. But if you're an intermediate learner and you want something more, you will get something new out of this lesson. I promise you do not know all of the stuff we're going to be talking about today. Unless you're fluent in Korean, in which case you definitely already know what we're talking about. But yeah, even if you can have conversations, even if you consider yourself pretty good, you're going to get something out of today's class, especially the intermediate section where I'm going to be talking about some ways to sound much more natural using the object marker, which you might not know. One of them will be about avoiding repetition, which we'll talk about briefly. And it's something that a lot of intermediate Korean speakers mess up with. And another thing is about using the object marker to mean a location, not an object, but a location. Yes. And exactly how that works. And I don't really run into people who know about this except other advanced learners. So you're probably going to get something out of this class no matter your level. And then, of course, at the end, we're going to be talking about some advanced level language terms. For example, how to say object marker in Korean. Do you need to say that? You know, that sort of thing. That'll be brief at the end of our class. We'll also do that. So if you're like really advanced and you just want to get something new out of today's class, if you're really advanced, you can just come back in at the very end and listen to that one part, and you're probably going to be good. All right. Any questions before we get started? Oh, welcome, Nika. Hey, Small and Princess Moonbeam. See some new people coming in. Tomato with potato. Token. And also, I saw another person. Oh yeah, and Selnida. And where was that? Where'd the other person go? Oh yeah, Jordy. I don't know if I missed anyone. I hope I didn't miss anyone. I'm scrolling up, seeing if I missed anyone. I think that's everyone. I think so. Okay, if I missed you, I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. This is still hot. I used to use a plastic thermos, and my wife got me this as a Christmas present. My first real thermos in my entire life. Because like I don't drink, like I'm not like a coffee drinker, so I normally never needed a thermos. But yeah, it actually keeps things hot. Who'd have thunk, right? Who'd think that a thermos would actually work? They should, if they pay me money, CONTIGO. It's actually pretty good. I'm not getting paid by them. I wish they gave me this for free. My wife had to buy it. Okay. Just like in Italian. What is just like in Italian? I see you like, oh, I see. You like moving your hands a lot. Yeah. No, people have commented on that before. Koreans have commented on that. And other regular, English speakers I know, other friends I have here, have commented that I like to move my hands a lot. I don't know. Maybe my dad's not my real dad. I haven't really thought about it. I'll have to ask him. Be like, are you my real dad? Or are you my, I'm sure my mom's my real mom. I'm like, are you my real dad? Sure my dad's not like Italian or something. Yeah, I don't know. I actually don't know. Is it true? Do Italians really use their hands a lot when they speak in Italian? Is that a thing? I hear it's a stereotype, but is it actually true? I don't know. I certainly do. I use my hands all the time when I'm talking and doing things. It helps me to express myself better. Do you all say woods or forest? We say forest unless you're talking about the 100-acre woods, in which case it's woods. I've used your book for some weeks. I love it. Question, in some words like game, okay, spelling's wrong on game, but okay. Game, how the object marker. Oh, Henrik. Make sure to read the book in order. I think I mentioned that in the preface, but anytime there's it's in the early chapter when I first introduced verbs. It is optional, is what it means. Anytime you see a word or a marker in parentheses, it means it's optional. So you could say game hada or gamer hada. Either one is perfectly fine. Now, there is a slight nuance difference between using it and not using it, but as far as meaning goes, no, it's the same. We're actually going to be talking about a little bit of that as well in today's class about hada verbs that use the object marker. And when you don't want to use it, especially there are some times when you really do not want to use it. And we will talk about that in today's lesson as well. That'll be a brief, somewhere in the middle of the lesson, we'll talk about, how to avoid repetition. We'll talk about when you really do not want to use that. What if your grandma was secretly Italian and not Mexican? That's a possibility I've never considered before. I wouldn't think so. She's pretty, well, she's hasn't been alive for a long time. She was very Mexican. Yeah, she was very Mexican. Now, my grandfather, that is a mystery. We actually don't know. So who knows? Every family has some secrets, some dramas. And for my family, it's my grandfather. One of my grandfathers. The other grandfather was really cool, and I knew him. And the other grandfather, we don't really know. 밤새도록 빌리쌤의 책을 읽었어요. Nice. Ocean Discovery? My mom has her pen and notebook ready. Your mom's learning Korean with you? Nice. Okay. In Brazil, we also use our hands a lot too. You're not alone. Yeah, I had a friend who was, I guess he's lived in Brazil for a while, and he said they also do like this. I can't do it. He tried to teach me it, like snapping his fingers. I don't know what it was. He was like, "Hey, you should do this, Billy. It's really cool." And they do it in Southern American, all those countries down there. I don't know, like snapping your fingers, but like, I don't know how I could do it without also breaking my wrist. Maybe you probably know what I'm talking about. Okay. When someone says an mullah, well, actually you wrote mullah, but I think I know what you mean. An mullah. If someone says that, they're not Korean. No one would say that unless they're joking and they're trying to make incorrect Korean. An mullah is like I don't not know, but they don't do double negatives in Korean. So it actually just sounds wrong. Okay. Yeah, I can't do it. Bali. Yeah, okay. That's something like that. Like, come on, let's get it going. Let's get it. And like, snap, snap, snap. But I can't do it. Like, they'll like flick their wrist in their hand and like make this really loud snapping sound. And I tried to do it. Like, I tried to do it a few times and it just hurts. Hurts really bad. But he's like, like, I don't know how you do it. You have to hold your middle finger and thumb so that your pointer finger is flappy. Ow, it kind of hurts. Okay, I kind of get what you mean, but I think I need a lot of practice to do it. Okay. All right, it is 2:00, so let's get started. No more hand snapping. Let's get into our Korean. We're talking about Korean stuff, right? We're not talking about stuff from other countries. We've been talking more about Italy and Brazil than we have about Korea today, okay? All right. So, let's get start with our lesson. All right. Don't worry, again, this lesson's not only going to be for beginners. So if you're intermediate or advanced, especially if you're still intermediate, I guarantee you're going to get something out of this lesson. Even if you feel like, oh, I know the object marker, you're still going to get something out of this lesson. Another thing I want to say before we start is that the object marker is more than just a set of rules for how and when you use this marker. It's actually more like a feeling that you're going to get. And the same applies with the topic marker and the subject marker, maybe especially the topic marker. But the object marker too, it becomes more of a feeling that you use it when you feel it's right, than you use it when you think that it's right. And that will only take lots of time and practice to get a hang of. You will not master the object marker just by learning when to use the object marker. I'll just say that. You're not going to master it just by learning the rules. So this isn't something that you can just quickly learn and now you got it and you're good. It's something you're going to be practicing with using a lot because there are a few different uses for it. There's lots of verbs it gets used with and it'll become more of a feeling to you. But my job is to help you understand it as best as I can, but ultimately you're going to be the one who masters it by practicing it on your own. Okay, so what is the object marker? Well, let's talk about how to use it. First of all, object marker will attach directly to a noun. Now, a noun is just anything, any person or a place. So my walls, my house, me, I can be a noun. Korea is a place. Korea is a noun. Any sort of noun will go directly before the object marker. And you'll attach the object marker after a noun. And it'll change a little bit depending on whether that noun ends with a consonant or ends with a vowel. If it ends in a consonant, well, then you're going to attach And if it ends with a vowel, you're going to attach le. But it's the same thing. It just changes how it looks and sounds depending on whether it comes after a consonant or a vowel. This is the most simplistic thing you have to learn for the object marker, really. So a lot of people will learn this and they think they've learned the object marker. They'll learn, it's used with action verbs, but they'll just learn this and they're like, oh, I know it now. No, it's a lot more than just this. But anyway, this is how you make it. So what does the object marker do? Well, it shows the object of an action verb. What is an object? Think about what is an object of an action verb? Well, an object of an action verb, you might think object like a thing, like I have an object, or there's an object on my desk or something. Not that kind of object. With an action verb, an object is just a language term that means whatever noun, whatever thing or person or place that an action verb is directly affecting. Whatever thing an action verb is affecting is called an object. And the object marker marks whatever thing any action verb is affecting. So because of that, it shows who or what that action verb is doing something directly to. So already we can understand one important way to use the object marker. Action verb. The object marker, because the object marker shows what object, what noun is being affected directly by an action verb, so what an action verb is doing something to, or who, that means it can only be used with action verbs. So if you have a descriptive verb, that could be something like to be funny, to be hungry, to be green, to be tall, anything that's just describing something, or to exist, or to be. Those are descriptive verbs. You cannot mark what it's doing with the object marker because it's not affecting anything. For example, I can give you the verb to be cold, 춥다. 춥다, to be cold. Well, it's a descriptive verb. It's not doing any sort of action. It is just being cold. So if you wanted to say this weather is cold, you could not use the object marker with weather. 날씨를 추워요. It would make no sense because 춥다 is not affecting anything. On top of the fact that it's not an action verb, 춥다 is not even affecting anything. So you can only use an object marker if there's an action verb. And there's a lot of descriptive verbs that actually beginners misuse with the object marker. It's extremely common. In fact, I would say that a good majority of people who consider themselves low intermediate or high beginner still misuse the object marker with descriptive verbs. In fact, it cannot be used with descriptive verbs. I'm going to give you some examples of some really common verbs that I see people, even sometimes low intermediates, misusing the object marker with. Number one. I feel like a Letterman. Number one. Actually, I should go backwards then. Okay. 있다. What is 있다? 있다 means to exist. 있다 is a descriptive verb. You're not existing something. You're saying something exists. So if you say, I have a pen, 저는 펜이 있어요. You're not really saying I have. You're not saying exist. I exist a pen. You're saying, as for me, there exists a pen. So people, I've seen a lot of intermediate learners do this. I mean, low intermediates, not high intermediates, or high beginners. They'll say, 저는 펜을, object marker, 있어요. Now, I understand why, because they're thinking it means to have, but 있다 itself could not work like that because it's a descriptive verb. So you could never use the object marker with 있다. Number two, 좋다. What does 좋다 mean? Well, first of all, it's a descriptive verb. Again, it means to be good. So if you say, that is good, 좋아요, 그것이 좋아요. Very simple sentence. 그것이 좋아요. That is good. Well, you're saying that is good. It's describing whatever it is that you're talking about. To be good is not doing anything to be good is not, this verb is not doing anything to a noun, right? It's just a descriptive verb. So there can never be an object marker with this verb, ever. In any situation, in any exception, you can never have an object marker for a descriptive verb. So you could never say something, something object marker, 좋아요. If you want to say, I like something using 좋다, well, even if you want to use this, it could not be with the object marker. You'd have to use it with something else. For example, the subject marker, 이 or 가. If you wanted to say straight, I like something with the object marker, you would use a different verb that looks similar, 좋아하다. 좋아하다 is an action verb and means to like. You can like something. Like, the verb like can affect something, so you can use it with an object marker, but 좋다 cannot. It's a descriptive verb. And number three, the third most common descriptive verb that I see getting used mistakenly with the object marker is 필요하다. 필요하다. Now, I understand why some people might think, actually a lot of people, might think that this is an action verb because it means to need. That's how it usually is defined in books, or in sentences it'll be translated as to need. And also it has 하다, so you think, oh, 하다, like to do. It's an action, so I need that. 저는 그것을 필요해요 is completely wrong. 필요하다 actually means to be necessary. And it is not an action verb. It translates, however, naturally as to need. But saying that you need something in Korean, they actually say it as that thing or whatever it is you need. That thing is necessary. So if you say, I need water, you wouldn't say, I necessary water, right? You would say, water is necessary. 물이 필요해요. 물이 필요해요. 저는 물이 필요해요. I need water, like that. Not with the object marker. Anyway, these are 3 of the most common ones that I find people misusing. There are obviously a lot more, but these are the most common ones. Okay, next thing, another place that you don't want to use the object marker for, you know what? I haven't actually shown you an example of using the object marker. Let me do that first before I do this. Pizza, pizza. It ends in a vowel, so we're going to attach le. 먹다, to eat. We're going to conjugate this as 먹어요. So I eat. 저는 피자를 먹어요. So I, as for me, I eat. Well, what do I eat? What is it that this verb is eating? What is it affecting? What is this verb 먹다 affecting directly? Pizza. That's what the object marker is used. That's it. Action verb. What is the action verb doing something directly to? Mark it. Okay. So that's how to use the object marker. But like I said, there's still a lot more to it. There's another time when you do not want to use the object marker, and this is another common mistake that I see a lot of people doing, including some low intermediates. Anytime you're talking about communication, the object marker is not used to say, I called that person, or I asked that person. Although you might think, you're calling. Well, who are you directly doing something to? That person. I'm calling that person. Or I asked. Who am I directly affecting with this verb ask? Well, I'm asking a person. Actually, when you're asking someone something, you are asking what you're asking, the words you're asking, to a person. So what those verbs are actually affecting, such as calling, asking, or speaking, or telling, or saying, what you're actually affecting, the actual object of those verbs, is not the person. In Korean, the object is actually the words that you're conveying. So if you are saying, I called, or I'm asking, or I am saying something to someone, you actually need to use the particle meaning to. Now, this can be commonly 에게 in written or formal usage, or ante in more casual or everyday usage, the same thing. But you'd want to say, actually, I asked to him or her, or I called, I said it to, I talked to a person, not just I called a person. So if you were to say, please call me, you wouldn't say 저를 전화해 주세요. That would be wrong. You would say 저에게 전화해 주세요. Please call to me, literally. So any verb that has to do with communicating, this will be, again, calling or asking or speaking, will actually use the particle meaning to for who you're affecting, because you're actually doing it to them. This is just another common mistake that I see people making. Okay. And one more thing also. The same actually applies for the verb 주다, or anytime you're giving something to someone. This isn't only the word 주다, but anytime you're doing things as a favor. For example, if you've already learned the grammar form 해주다, to do something for someone else, anytime you're doing something for someone else, you'll also use to. So if you wanted to say, give me a present, what's the object? Is the object me? Give me? No, you're not giving me to someone. That would be like slavery. You're giving the object to a person, not giving the person to someone else, right? So you want to make sure you're using to whenever you're talking about giving as well. So communication and giving, always use to for whoever you're doing it to. If you were to use the object marker if you were to use the object marker with this, what it is what you're actually giving. So you can say 선물을 주다, to give a present. In that case, the object you're giving is the present. That's fine. So you give a present to me. 저에게 선물을 주세요. Please give a present to me. So whatever you use with the object marker is, again, what it's directly affecting, not the person it's doing something for, not the person it's telling something to. Just keep that in mind. Okay. Also, I want to make sure you guys get plenty of information about these. This is something also that I think people learn this, and intermediates know this already, and they know about this, but I think this is something that gets abused a lot. And that is removing the object marker. I know a lot of beginners and even intermediates learn that you can actually remove the object marker when you're speaking, that it's optional. Yes and no. There are lots of times when it's totally okay not to say the object marker. The main one being, if the object marker can be assumed to be there, if it's very clear that that's the object of something in context, then you can remove the object marker. But that doesn't always apply. And there are a lot of situations where you couldn't remove the object marker because it'll be vague what you're talking about. For example, if you wanted to say, I 저 좋아해요. I like it. Like, okay, it can be assumed you mean 저는 좋아해요. But it also, in context, could be assumed to mean someone you're talking about or something else you're already talking about. 저를 좋아해요. Likes me. So it could be vague in some situations. You can remove the object marker, which means it's there, but you don't need to say it, anytime it can be clearly assumed that it would be there otherwise. But if there is any hint of ambiguity, though of ambiguity in your conversation, you must use it or risk being misunderstood or saying something that doesn't make sense. So it's not true you can just optionally remove it in casual speech always. There are a lot of cases where you can't, and I would recommend using it always until you're confident that a specific situation doesn't need it. If it seems very clear to you that this could only be the object marker, feel free to remove it. Otherwise, if you're not sure, I recommend using it just so that you don't make any awkward sentences. Okay. Let's talk about also one more thing. See, we haven't even given you any sentence. I've only given you one sentence. We're talking about we're learning so many things already, aren't we? Okay. You might see a lot of sentences that have a noun and then the object marker here and then 하다, right? There's like a good 9 billion verbs in Korean that follow this sort of formula. 공부, to study, 수영하다, to swim, 요리하다, to cook. Literally, all of these are action verbs if they have this sort of construction. Object marker with 하다. And literally what they mean is 하다, to do whatever this noun is. In this case, 공부 means studying, learning something, studying something. 공부를 하다 literally therefore means to do. And what is it that you're directly affecting with this verb to do? What is it that you're doing? Well, you're doing 공부, right? Anytime you see a verb that has 하다 with the object marker after a noun, any sort of verb like this, you can actually remove it or keep it whenever you want. And it's not going to be vague if you remove it in this case. Feel free to remove it if you want. That doesn't mean it's better to remove it or more natural to remove it, but it's not going to be misunderstood if you have this sort of construction with an object marker in between. Because there's nothing else that could be there. There's nothing else it could be construed as if this is all it is. However, if you're going to remove the object marker in this sort of formula, you also have to remove something else, and that is the space. So if you're going to use the object marker, it would be 공부를, or whatever the object marker is here, spaced with 하다. So 공부를 space 하다. If you do not use the object marker in all of these situations, you actually must stick the verb 하다 back against the noun. So you get this, 공부하다. So you have two options. Just keep in mind how the spacing should be. Okay. Another example. You can have 뭘 하다. Like, what are you doing? 뭘 해? 뭘 해? But if you want to remove this object marker here, you're left with just 뭐. Well, actually, they could just do 뭐 해 like that. Okay, that's not a great example. Just use the one I already gave you. That's probably a better example. Okay. Oh, yes. How are you guys doing? Before I keep going, how are you guys doing? Am I going too fast? Is this pace okay? I don't want to leave you guys, I don't want to go too fast because it's technically we're in the beginning part of today's lesson. Let's see. Let me know how you guys are doing. Meanwhile, I'm going to write up some common contractions. Lord. You guys are doing okay? Okay. Great. All right. These are some common contractions that you'll see, and these ones are perfectly natural sounding. There are more ways you can shorten the object marker, but they might not though always be natural sounding. These are very natural sounding ones. 것을, so the object marker after 것 in any situation can become 걸. You'll see this used all the time. 저를, for me, 절. 나를, same for me. 나를 for me, 날. 너를 for you when you're speaking down to someone or you're really close friends. 너. 너를 can become 널. I've already said this a bunch of times in other lessons, but don't use 너 to any friends that you're not super close with. And that they're the same age as you or younger. Even if you're really close with them, but they're older than you, never. And I guarantee you this, even with your coolest, most open-minded Korean native-speaking friends, they will not appreciate if you use 너. If they're older than you, even if you're really close, they're not going to like this. This is a very big exception that I think people think that if you, I say people, we live in a society. Korean learners sometimes will think that if they get really close with a Korean that they're free to speak casually. And they think that because they're free to speak casually, that means they can say whatever they want. That's not true. There are still rules you follow even when you're speaking really casually, even when you're breaking the rules with a Korean friend. One of them is you do not use 너 with someone who is older than you. Even if you're very close with them, it feels like you're talking down to someone. So it's only appropriate with friendships that are the same age or people who are younger than you and you're still friends with. If you use this to anyone else in other situations, friends that are older than you, they'll feel kind of bad. They might not say anything, but they'll be like, I don't like that. And if you use it to someone who you're not close with, it feels like you're talking down to a kid. Maybe that could be okay if you're talking to a little kid. Otherwise, it sounds like you're kind of berating someone or you're talking down to them by using 너. So be careful with this one. Okay. 너를 can also become 널. But you actually might have seen some other combinations. You might have seen some other shortenings. You might have seen some other contractions of the object marker. Anytime that a noun ends with a vowel, you can actually attach the object marker by simply attaching this letter by itself. I'll give you an example. 어디를 something, whatever, where, and you can talk about that. So we have 어디, meaning where. 어디를. Well, this ends with a vowel. This word 어디 ends in a vowel, so you could actually shorten this down to 어디를. Yeah. Okay. But don't. Just because you can do this trick with any noun you want that ends with a vowel, that will actually have a negative effect on your Korean overall. You might not want this effect. It kind of makes your Korean sound a bit slangy. Even though you can do this, and you might think, oh, now I sound more native. Yes and no. Yes, this is something that natives will do. It actually, though, makes your Korean sound very slangy, so you might not want that. It kind of makes your Korean sound younger than you are. If you're a very young teenager, this might be perfect for you. But if you're a young adult and you use this sort of thing in a bunch of different places, it'll kind of sound like you're saying like, glomps, holds up spork. Stuff that was like, it wasn't even cool 20 years ago. It sounds very childish, so be careful when you're doing this. Just know that you might see it used like this, but it does have a very kind of childish, immature feeling to it if you do it too much. Okay. We're almost done, I swear. We're almost done with the super beginner part, but there is one more thing that I want to talk about that is, this part is actually a little bit more intermediate, and that is two concepts. Transitive and intransitive verbs. So the next thing that I want to talk about is what's known as transitive and intransitive verbs. There are several different types of adjectives. There are two main types of verbs. Transitive and actionative. There are two main types of verbs. Transitive and intransitive verbs. You actually do not need to know these specific terms. It'll make sense when you learn what they represent. You don't really need to memorize these actual terms. But transitive verbs are any verb that affects something. So these would be considered action verbs. There are actually, let me start over because I think it'll be a little more clear when I do my editing tonight for making the abridged version. If I don't have this thing I'm trying to say now, that's supposed to be the beginning. Okay. Next, let's talk about transitive and intransitive verbs. There are two main types of action verbs, transitive and intransitive action verbs. Transitive action verbs are the ones that we were already talking about. Things like to like, right? To eat, to see, to open. These are action verbs that affect something. So you can see, what do you see? What do you directly see? You see the TV, right? You can like BTS. You can eat pizza. You can open a door. But what about intransitive verbs? Now, these can also be action verbs. Intransitive verbs are simply any verb that does not affect something. So how is that possible? Didn't we say like descriptive verbs do that? Well, yeah, descriptive verbs, technically you can think of them as intransitive because they're not affecting anything. They cannot have an object marker. I'll just put OM. They can't have an object marker because they're not affecting anything. But there are actually a lot of action verbs that are intransitive verbs. By that I just mean there are a lot of action verbs that actually don't affect something. Can you think of any examples? Can you think of one action verb that's doing something? It's definitely an action, but that it's not doing anything to something. It's just doing something on its own. Can you think of any? Write it in the chat. I want to know what you guys think. What do you guys already know? When BTS gets your attention. Yeah, I gotta throw in a reference to BTS every now and again, right? Just keep you guys on your toes. The true fans won't miss a single reference. I still haven't picked, though, my favorite BTS member. Maybe I should listen to some more of their music. I've only heard like 3 of their songs, maybe. I don't know too much about them. I have a bunch of you guys actually sent me some of their songs, I want to say like 2 years ago. And at that time, I listened to a few, but I haven't heard any since. Rain. Yeah? To dream. Actually, to dream, you would think, but in Korean, they actually even have an expression, to dream a dream, which is how you say I dreamed. You say I dreamed a dream. Same with dance. I danced a dance. So in Korean, no. But I get what you're saying. If it weren't for those expressions, then yes, to dream would be great. It's raining. Okay, yep. Master Wilhelm. To swim. Yeah, to swim is great. To swim. Are you swimming? What are you swimming? Are you swimming your hands? Are you swimming the water? Not really, no. That doesn't really make sense. To swim. To wait. You can wait for someone. You can wait 10 minutes. So wait would be a transitive because you can wait something. You can wait time. Also sleep. Sleep is also 잠을 자다. It's literally to sleep a sleep. So sleep doesn't work. But otherwise, yes, you wouldn't sleep your bed. You wouldn't sleep a thing. But you could sleep 10 hours. I guess you could. Yeah, intransitive doesn't need an object to make sense. Okay, well, I'll give you a few. There are a lot of these. There are a lot of intransitive verbs that are action verbs, but do not actually affect something and therefore don't use the object marker. This one is the one I see most people misusing. 끝나다. 끝나다 means to end or to finish. But it doesn't mean that you are finishing something like I finished my homework. No. This means your homework finished. Your class ended. So your class ends. It's not ends a class. That would be a transitive verb. There is a transitive version of this verb, which you probably know. 끝내다. 끝내다 has the exact same meaning as 끝나다 in English, to end or to finish, but this is a transitive verb, and this one can do something to something. So this one would be the one that you say when I finished my homework. I finished teaching class. I finished something. I finished a project. Whereas this one would be the project finished, class finished, my homework is over, that sort of meaning. So they look the same, almost. One is na and one is ne, but this is intransitive and cannot have an object, and this is transitive and can have an object. Let me give you another one. Every single passive verb. Passive verbs are also intransitive. This one is 열리다. It is the passive form of 열다. 열다 is a transitive verb, open. You can open a door. You can open a window. This one, 열리다, is a passive version. It means to be opened. You can't be open a window, be open a door. It doesn't do anything to any object. It can't have an object. Instead, you would say the window 열렸어요 was open, or 열려 있어요 is currently opened, but it would not use an object, even though it's an action verb. It's doing something. So keep that in mind. Just because something's an action verb doesn't mean it can use an object. But if it's a descriptive verb, it definitely can't. And if it's an intransitive verb, or any passive verb, or verbs that don't use objects, I said, why am I saying if it doesn't use an object, then it can't use an object? Great teaching, Billy. Anyway, pay attention to how a verb is used and the actual definition to decide whether or not it can or can't use an object. So just be careful when you're looking at a verb. Just because it's action verb, that doesn't necessarily mean it can use an object. I think I have one more. 53. Oh yeah, another very common intransitive verb. So it's an action verb, but it cannot use an object, is 되다. 되다 means to become. Now you might think, well, wait, Billy, I can become a teacher. I can become a better person. No. This does not mean you are becoming something. This means you yourself are changing. Something is changing. The noun itself is doing the becoming. This is difficult to translate exactly into English, but 되다 though is an action. What am I trying to say? Action verb. Fairchki, Gigi. Fair. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Thank you. Fairchki. Fairchki. Thank you for the $1 donation. Give you a dab. Appreciate it. 되다 means to become, and it's an intransitive verb. So it's an action verb. Becoming is an action, but it cannot ever, in any situation, use an object. So you can't use the object marker with it. If you say, I want to become a teacher, literally what you're saying is a teacher becomes. 선생님이 돼요. 선생님이 되고 싶어요. 선생님이 되고 싶어요. I want to become a teacher. As for me, 저는 선생님이 되고 싶어요. As for me, a teacher want to become in that sort of meaning. So this is a bit tricky, and I've seen a lot of people use 되다 with an object marker. It's wrong in every case. So do not use 되다 with an object. It's a trick. Same goes for 이다. To be. You might think, well, I'm going to be, don't think of it as to become. That's a little different. You might think, oh, I am a Korean teacher. I am a Korean teacher. That also can't use an object. You could never say 선생님을 이해요. It doesn't make any sense. So 이다, but 이다 also to begin with is a descriptive verb anyway, not an action verb. So, hopefully you'll remember that this is descriptive verbs do not use object marker anyway, so you won't have that trouble. But just kind of pointing it out, it's another one I see people misuse. But 되다 is definitely one that I see a lot of misuse because it is an action verb, but it cannot use an object marker. Oops. I erased a couple of the M's. M&M. Okay. Do M&Ms really all taste the same? Is that true? Do they all have the same flavor, or are there like different flavored ones? I actually don't know. Okay. That is the beginner lesson. But now let's do some example sentences now using what we've learned. 어제, yesterday, 친구를. Now, I'm not even going to finish writing the rest of the sentence. I'm not done with the sentence yet, but I just want to talk about the nuance of using the object marker here. So you might already know how the object marker works now, and when you can and can't use it, and how to shorten it. Just when I get up to here, though, the feeling that anyone who's native in Korean or fluent will get now is this is going to be affected by something. Oh no. As soon as we see this part of the sentence, the object marker, we feel, and I say we because I also speak Korean fluently, but you don't have to be a native to feel this. I feel right now something is going to do something to the friend. Yesterday, friend, well, it's going to be like 99%, it's going to be met or saw or something like that. I know it's not going to be spoke with because we know that communication verbs have to use to. If it was 친구에게, it could be give something to or say something to, but it's the object marker. So it's going to have to be something you do with a friend. What could you do directly affecting a friend? You could see them. You could meet them. You could high five them. You could kill them. What could you do? It's probably going to be meet. 만났어요. And it is. 만났어요. But just getting up to here, any native speaker can feel that coming at the end of the sentence is going to be something like to meet. Or maybe just by chance I saw my friend. 어제 친구를 우연히 봤는데 just by chance I saw my friend yesterday. It could be that, but it's going to be something to do with you interacted with them because the object marker dictates that whatever it's used after is what's directly being affected by a transitive action verb, as we've now learned. 어제 친구를 만났어요. So yesterday I met. Who did I meet? Or what did I meet? What noun did this verb 만나다 directly affect? 친구. Okay. Let's do another one. What is going to come at the end? I don't know. I don't like how I write Korean. I don't like how I write English either. I'm just really messy. 저는 영화를 what's going to come? What verb is going to come after this? You can't say like 저는 영화를. Okay, so what could come? 영화, movie, object marker. Something's going to be directly affecting a movie. What can you do to a movie? That's what a Korean is going to be thinking. What would you probably be doing to a movie? Throw away? Forgot? Like, you know, you could think of lots of possibilities, but likely, what's it going to be? Okay, someone commented in there. 봐요, I watch a movie. Okay. 봤어요, watched. Okay, in this case, we don't know the tense yet, but it's probably going to be something like watch or review, maybe, you know, if this were a dictionary or a newspaper or something like that, it's probably going to be read, right? If this were a journal, like your diary, it's probably going to be write. You can just assume these things because it has to be something directly affecting that noun. You don't even need the whole sentence to figure out what someone's saying while they're still saying it. Oh, wow. Wait, Susie Shayavong. Wow. I'm just gonna write Susie because I can't pronounce the rest of it. Wow, with a Susie coming in here with a $20 donation. Thank you. Wow. Okay, let me I'll be the person that says 신청하다. 영화를 신청. Yeah, sure. Nika's like being all fancy there. Thanks for the donation. 3, 4, 5. Gonna do 20 dabs. 7, 8, 9, 10. Other side. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Whew. Thank you. Okay. So we know it's gonna have to be something that you're watching a movie, right? So in this case, the tense comes after. But in context, if you're talking with someone, you could probably even guess the tense. If someone says, hey, what are you going to do tomorrow? 저는 영화를, it has to be 볼 거예요. It's going to be some sort of future tense. Or maybe 볼까 말까 생각하고 있는데, maybe I'm thinking of maybe watching a movie or not. I'm not sure. You know, you could put anything else after that. I'm not saying it's going to always be 볼 거예요, the end. No, it's going to be something like that though. So the Korean listening doesn't even need the whole sentence to be able to react. And we do this in English too, right? When someone's talking, we know what they're going to say before they finish their sentence. That's because Koreans can feel it also because of the object marker. So yeah, you can assume, now you might be wrong, it could be something else, but probably you can usually assume what is coming after, what the verb is going to be without even hearing it yet, because where the object marker is affecting. Now, what if you're reading some document and it's like this? Okay? What if you're looking at a Korean book and you're still a beginner and you haven't mastered Hangul yet, but you see this sentence? You can know what this verb is, right? If I just showed you this, you wouldn't be able to read it. But if I show you this, you see the whole sentence. You could probably guess what this word is, even though you can't read it. And then you'd say, oh, probably see. And then you're like, oh yeah, I guess I see it would be like this, right? I mean, like, you get the idea. That shouldn't go there. So the object marker is super helpful for guessing and for guessing what someone's going to say. You can pick up a lot of context by hearing a sentence even before it's completed. Yeah. So that should help your Korean. So 저는 영화를 볼 거예요. So I will watch a movie. Future tense. Next one. 저를. Now this is too short to guess what's going to be coming after it. It's actually going to be a very short sentence. 저를 몰라요? 모르다, to not know. To not know what? To not know who? What noun is this verb affecting? Directly. Me. So to not know me. So you don't know me? 저를 몰라요? This is what I say when I go to Korea. I'll be like walking down the street and I'll grab everyone that I see by the collar. I'll be like, 저를 몰라요? Don't you know who I am? Don't you know me? And don't you know me? It's like desperate attempt for affection when I'm in Korea. No, of course I don't do that. Jewel. Wow, Jewel. Thank you so much. I'm at work, but I had to attend your class. Still learning Hangul. Nice, nice. Jewel, thank you so much. Gonna do 10 dabs for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Thank you. 저를 몰라요? Don't you know me? Literally, do you not know me? Next sentence. Okay, what does this sentence, how is this sentence going to finish? How will this sentence finish? How could it finish? What would you assume? If someone starts talking to you in Korean and you're a beginner and you hear them saying, 저도 BTS를, what comes after? What is here? What could it be? Of course, there are a lot of possibilities that it could be, right? You could think of anything. But in context, what's the most likely ending to this sentence? Just by hearing this, the object marker. You know something is going to be here. This will be, whatever comes after, there will be something in there that has an action verb that's directly doing something to this. Do you eat BTS? Do you see BTS? Do you want to see BTS? It could be in context, right? There are a lot of options, but you might be able to guess what they're going to say possibly before they even say it. And that really helps with understanding Korean when you're speaking with people. You don't have to get the whole sentence finished before you can understand what the person you're talking with is saying. A lot of people are saying 좋아해요. Someone said, 만디야. 좋아요 is a descriptive verb, so it cannot ever use an object marker. So yeah, you could do 좋아해요. 알아요 could work. 알아요, yeah, sure. 알다, to know. Well, who or what is it that you know? Well, I know BTS. 저도 BTS를 알아요. Yeah, I know BTS too. Yeah. You might assume that. But as soon as they start saying ch, well, then immediately your brain will say, I like, before they have to say it. So now you can be like 100% sure, 99% sure, 99% sure that what they're going to say is like. I also like BTS before they even get the word out. You're like really positive about what they're saying before they finish talking. And that's how Koreans are able to do that. Because these object markers, have a feeling to them. 저도 BTS를 좋아해요. So I also like 좋아해요. Well, who or what do I like? Who is this verb directly affecting BTS? And because we marked it with the object marker, we know it's going to be affected directly by an action verb, a transitive action verb. 저도 BTS를 좋아해요. So I also like BTS. Okay, let's do one more sentence and then let's go on to some intermediate stuff. 추워서. Now I'm going to put this in parentheses because it's optional for understanding the object marker in here. But if you added it, it makes the sentence a little bit better. 추워서 창문을. Okay, how would this sentence end? 춥다 is to be cold, so 추워서. Now, if you're a beginner, you just started, you might not yet know this grammar form, 서, but it's doing something because it's cold. 창문 is a window. 창문을. So because it's cold, the window, what's going to happen? What's going to end this sentence? Or what could end this sentence? Let's see. Before I see a comment by LE_KH. You couldn't say 미워요 because 밉다 is a descriptive verb. You could use 미워해요, 미워하다 to hate something, but not 미워요 as it is, because that would be a descriptive verb. 닫았어요. Yeah, you could use that. 닫아요, 닫으세요. You can't use 닫으세요, but that's because of this form, the sol form. I have a separate lesson, though, on how to use the sol form and the 니까 form. The sol form cannot be used with commands. So you couldn't say 추워서 창문을 닫아요. Like you close it, or 닫으세요. You couldn't use that. You could use with 니까. You could say 추우니까 창문을 닫으세요. You could say that, but not with the sol form. 창문을. Yeah, so if anyone thinks 닫으세요 would be wrong because you cannot use 닫으세요 with here. If you ignore this part, though, sure. 닫았어요. Probably something like 닫았어요. Since you cannot use a command with sol, you would have to be something like I will close it or I did close it, like that. So 추워서 창문을 닫았어요. 추워서, because it is cold, I, 창문을, the window, object. So something's going to be affecting the window. What could be directly affecting the window? I'm going to look at the window because it's cold. I'm going to break the window because it's cold. And I'm probably going to close the window because it's cold. So as soon as you hear the person saying 다, you know it's going to be 닫았어요 or something like that. Maybe 닫을 거예요. I will close it if it's already open. But if you see the window's closed, you know the window's already closed. It has to be past tense. 추워서 창문을 닫았어요. So I closed the window because it's cold or because it was cold. I closed the window. Okay, that is the end of our beginner lesson for today. Now let's talk about some more intermediate level things. Now I know we're already way over time. Let's get on to this. So the first topic we're going to be going into is intermediate. And this is about repetition. When you're using the object marker in Korean, there are many times where it's actually used multiple times in a sentence. Let me give you an example. 저는 한국어 meaning the Korean language. So 한국어를 object marker. So something's going to be affecting 한국어 directly. What is going to be affecting 한국어? Well, probably something like learning or studying or memorizing maybe. 고, okay, so as soon as we hear 공, we know it's going to be studying. 공부를, I'll show you in a second, 할 거예요. So, let's just take a look at this part first. 공부를 할 거예요. I will do studying, so I will study. Now, this, I told you, can be optional whenever it's used with a 하다 verb. So you could say 공부할 거예요 or 공부를 할 거예요. You can either do 공부를 할 거예요 or just 공부할 거예요, and they're both the same. They have the same meaning. But now we have a small problem. Can anyone see what the small problem is? Now, grammatically, we have no problem with this sentence. It is perfect. But there is a small natural sounding problem in this sentence. Can anyone find it? See, who can find it first? What's awkward about this sentence? Maybe this question's too easy. Still, who can find it first? Who is the best? Two object markers? Okay, we'll share. Got it. What was that? Sounded like a dog. It's made like a squeegee though. Like a squeegee that sounded like a dog. I don't know what that was. Okay, two object markers. Yes. Tutors. Okay. Yeah. Now, grammatically, there's no problem here. We have 한국어를, so we're going to be studying Korean. And we have 공부를, because we're going to be doing, literally, doing studying. So I'm going to be doing studying Korean. So I'm going to study Korean. 저는 한국어를 공부를 할 거예요. It's perfectly fine, but there's a more natural way you could say this. 저는 한국어를 공부할 거예요. Why? Because of repetition. Because it sounds better. Koreans, also recognize when something is difficult to pronounce or sounds a bit repetitive, right? Like we're not going to be saying in Korean, you're not going to be saying 저는 한국어를 공부해요. 저는 한국어를 좋아해요. 저는 한국에 가고 싶어요. You're not going to keep repeating the same thing if it's not necessary. And we don't really do this in English either. We're not going to say like, I like eating pizza. Like any sort of repetition sounds annoying in Korean, even a little bit. So they would actually remove this one. And this is kind of a rule. Whenever you have this sort of verb with the object marker after a noun with 하다, or it doesn't have to be 하다. It can actually be any verb that uses a noun plus the object marker and then a verb. Anytime you have this sort of combination, for example, 춤을 추다, to dance, 꿈을 꾸다, to dream, 잠을 자다, to sleep. Anytime you have that sort of combination with a verb and a noun, and it comes after something that it's doing something to. Here, Korean, you actually want to remove this object marker to make it sound more natural, to avoid repetition. For example, if you wanted to say, I cook pasta, normally you could say, 파스타를 요리를 해요. 요리를 해요. I'm doing cooking. Normally someone says, what are you doing? 요리를 하고 있어요. I'm doing cooking. 요리하고 있어요. I'm doing cooking. Both are perfectly natural and fine. But once you add in a second object, you don't just have 요리하다, you also have 파스타를 요리하다. Well, now you want to remove the object marker in 요리하다. So you're left with 파스타를 요리해요. I cook pasta. That will sound much more natural than saying 파스타를 요리를 해요. It even feels kind of awkward to say it because of that 파스타를 요리를, like that double object marker is just a bit tricky to say. So this is just a tip. Your sentence will not be wrong if you don't do this, but it will be more natural sounding if you do. Okay, that was the only part I needed to talk about for repetition. There's actually nothing else you really need to worry about for repetition. I have another intermediate concept that I want to talk about today. This is for intermediate and advanced learners. Now, if you are a beginner, the lesson today is, as far as I'm concerned, the lesson today is over. You can feel free to stick around. You can throw your money at me and donate and make me do dabs. Or you can just, sit back and relax and listen to the rest of the lesson. You do not need to know this as a beginner. In fact, I recommend against learning this as a beginner for only the reason that it can be confusing when you're using the a particle. If you still have not mastered a as well as ro, I really, really recommend not learning this today because this is going to throw everything that you know on its head. So I'm just giving you fair warning. This is not a beginner topic. And if you're a beginner and you start doing this, your Korean might sound awkward. Okay. The object marker can actually be used in a similar way as the particle a. Now, what is the particle a? The particle a is the location marker. This shows the location that a noun, something or someone, travels to or is located in. For example, you would say, I go to Korea. 저는 한국에 가요. Or, I am in Korea. I am located in Korea. 저는 한국에 있어요. I literally exist in Korea. So it's used for marking the location. The object marker cannot be used in all of these situations. It cannot be used to say the location that someone is in or something is in. You cannot use the object marker to say 저는 한국에 있어요. I am in Korea. No matter how hard you try, it would be 100% wrong. The object marker, however, can also be used when talking about traveling to a location, moving to a location. In that case, both the object marker and a can be used when you're saying someone or something is going to a location, with some differences. First of all, before we talk about these, let's talk about these three. Let's talk about this one. Uro is the regular particle that also is used for showing movement or travel toward a location. So uro is not so much that you're going to a location as your destination, or you're going there as, you know, the place that you're heading toward. It's more of the direction that you're heading. It's more of the feeling of in that direction, that path to get somewhere. Turning to something, heading a certain way. Whereas a is more of just a to, as far as its literal meaning. So this is a separate lesson. You'll want to learn this, of course, before even diving into this we're doing right now. This object marker has a different meaning when it's used to say that it's something traveling or moving to a location. So the object marker can also be used like a to show when something is moving to a location, but it's slightly different. How is it different? I'm just curious, before I go into this, did any of you already know about how the object marker can be used to mean to a location? Just show of hands if you already knew this. Just let me know. I'm just curious. How many of you already knew this? How's this going? Oh, crazy game. It's different. It's not the same as in Japanese. This is not the same way. I know what you're thinking about. Wo can be used when you're talking about at a location, doing something like if you're swimming in the river, you're swimming around the location. It is not that. Don't get Korean confused with Japanese. They have a lot of things in common, but they are at the core, they're very different languages. This is not the same as what the object marker in Japanese does for language, for location. So don't confuse those two. Trust me, you're going to say really weird things if you do that. Because saying you're walking to saying you're superkada, like forest, superkada is not the same as saying, I think, what was the word? Tani? No, that's valley. Oh, what's the word for mori? Mori o iku is not the same thing as saying superkada. Mori is like with the object marker. I know we're talking about Japanese now. In Japanese, it's more of around the area. That's not what this means. Hands down. Hands up. Nice. Got a few people. Okay. Yeah, I was just clarifying because I've heard some people compare Korean particles with Japanese particles. And there are some that seem to have good similarities. Like they do kind of match up in some situations. But then there's a lot of cases where they'll match up in one situation, but not the others. This is another one that doesn't match up with Japanese. Okay. This one is not just the location, but more of the destination. And by that I mean, when you use this particle, you're implying that the place that you're going to is a goal. Like that's your destination. That's where you're going to end up. When you've finished all of your movement, when you've finished all your traveling, you're going to end up at this destination, which is marked with the object marker. That is how this one is different. And that's how this one has a different nuance than the other ones when you're talking about a location. So this shows the destination, or like a goal, whatever the destination is, the final destination of some movement, of some traveling. So then, I should say that since this has to do with movement, keep in mind this is only going to be used with movement verbs. So that will be verbs that end with or are, kada or uda, as well as things like, as well as verbs like tanida, to attend or to commute somewhere, even things like dida, to run. But it's not going to be used with regular verbs that are not conveying motion, because it has to be only used when you're talking about a destination. You're not going to have the destination of looking at a location. Well, actually, that doesn't make sense. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Just use it with these verbs. It's only used with these sorts of motion verbs. So like kada or oda, or verbs that end with those. Tanida or dida, to jump, to commute, to come, and to go. So then what does that look like? What do verbs look like when they use this? Well, you're going to see this on everyday locations. For example, things like 학교. Seeing 학교를 가야 돼. I have to go to school. School is my destination. That's where that's my goal. I'm heading there. 학교를 가야 돼요. I have to go to school. Things like your 학원, your academy, 병원, hospital. I'm heading to the hospital, as in I gotta go there right now. That's where I'm heading. I'm focused on there. That's my destination. 병원을 가고 있었는데 병원을 가야 돼. 병원을 something, whatever. 병원, hospital. So sort of everyday location. I hope you're not going to the hospital every day. By every day, I just mean really common. You're also going to see this sort of usage commonly with travel verbs. Any sort of verb that indicates that you're going to do some sort of activity, some sort of traveling anywhere. And that includes, of course, 여행, 여행을 가다, literally to go on a trip. 여행 means a trip or traveling. So normally you can say 여행하다, literally to travel somewhere. But you can also say 여행을 가다, to go on a trip. Your destination is the purpose of, the goal of your going is to do a trip. So that's what you're doing. 여행을 가다. You'll also see this with things like 유학. 유학 would be exchange student, like becoming an exchange student. 소풍, a picnic. 등산 would be like going hiking. And then things like 시집 or 장가, which is getting married. 시집 is a girl gets married. 장가 is a male gets married. These are more like traditional sounding Korean verbs instead of using 결혼하다. You can use 시집 가다, 장가 가다. And then other things in general, like 군대, if you're going to the military, they say 군대를 가다, to go to the military. Not 군대에 가다, but 군대를 가다, because that's where you're going off to, that's your destination. And other words just in general when you don't know where you're going. 어디, 어디를 가. There is a popular Korean kids song, 산 토끼 토끼야 어디를 가느냐. That's the song. I'm not singing anymore. 어디 is also used with this object marker all the time on a daily basis. As in, like, what's your destination? Where are you trying to even go? Not where are you heading toward? Like, what location? What direction are you going? Not that. Not 어디로. Not 어디에, where are you going to in general, but where is your final destination? Where are you trying to head up? Where are you trying to head to? That's what I wanted to say. Okay. And it's also common with some sort with now. I can't spell. It's also common with some nature words. So you'll see things like the mountain or the forest. And that also means you're going to the mountain as your destination. Like, I'm heading to the mountains and that's where I'm going to go. And I'm not going to stop till I get there. That sort of meaning. You can get this with some nature words. So these are just some common situations you'll see. I got another donation? The board's just blinking, but I don't see anything. Oh, there we go. There's like a 10-second delay. It's like flashing everywhere. I was like, my computer doesn't show it. My streaming software doesn't show it. My tablet doesn't show it. It's like a ghost just donated to. It's the ghost of Grandpa Mikey. Grandpa. Grandpa, thanks, Gramps. Can I call you Gramps? You could be like, I don't even know how old you are. Thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thank you, Gramps. Okay. Dance, Billy, dance. Yes, yes. Get some more tea there. Okay. So, let me give you a couple examples of this. 여행을. Now, we see 여행을. So you can assume you're doing something to the trip. You're probably going to go on a trip or do a trip, do traveling. 여행을 가고 싶어요. You can do something just as simple like this. 여행을 가고 싶어요. So I want to go, and my destination, my goal is a trip. I want to go on a trip. 여행을 가고 싶어요. I want to take a trip. I do really want to go on a trip. I also want to 여행을 가고 싶어요. Let's do another example. 이 학교들, so let me rewrite this part. 이 학교들 중에, so among these schools, that's a little too far. 이 학교들 중에, so among these schools, actually A서 because we're going to be picking. 어디를 가야 할까요? So among these schools, literally, 이 학교들 중에서 어디를 가야 할까요? Where do I need to go? Where should I go? 어디를, as in my destination, my final destination of schools. Where should I make a goal of going to? Where should I go among these schools? So which of these schools should I go to? 이 학교들 중에서 어디를 가야 할까요? 이 학교들 중에서 어디를 가야 할까요? Where should I go? Okay, let's do one more step up. I see now this is going to be what you advanced learners are waiting for. We have finished the beginning topics in our class. We've finished the intermediate topics in our class. Now let's do a little bit of advanced. Now I say advanced because you really do not need to know these next things we're going to learn. And that is some language terms. Language terms for words like the object marker, the subject marker, and the topic marker. I first want to say, though, before I tell you these three words, that Koreans will probably not know these words. Unless they're very interested in studying English and they're very interested in languages, then they would know these words. But the average Korean you talk with, that you practice Korean speaking with, is not going to have a clue what these words mean. The average Korean is not going to know at all what these words mean or how to use them or what they are, how even to space them. So the average Korean is not going to know these words, but they're still kind of fun. First of all, let's do the object marker. The word for the object marker in Korean, again, you do not need to know this. The first part, though, is pretty simple. 목적. I'll explain what these means. The object marker is 목적격 조사. Now, that might seem very complicated, but if you break it up, it's actually very simple. 목적 means a goal. If you say 목적지, that's the destination you're going toward. 목적 is a goal of something. So you have a goal in mind. 목적. What is your purpose? What's your goal? That's your 목적. Which actually kind of matches with the meaning of using the object marker as a destination, because it's your goal. That's your destination where you're going. So anyway, the object marker, 격, you don't really need to know this. It's just like a type of form. And then 조사 means a marker. That's a word for Korean marker. There's also another word, 조사, which means investigation. It's not that one. This is 조사, which means 조 helper. 사 is like a particle, like a part of speech. So a marker, an objective marker is what you get. 목적격 조사, object marker. This word 조사 is actually quite useful if you want to memorize all three. You can just call any marker a 조사 if you can't think of the word, because that's the word for marker. Okay, 목적격 조사 is object marker. What's the next one? Well, the topic marker. What's the topic marker? What's the word for topic in Korean? 주제. 주제 is the regular Korean word for any topic, like a conversation topic. Fortunately, the word for the topic marker is very simple if you know the other parts. 주제격 조사. Now we have topical form 조사 marker, topic marker. So we had before 목적, which was object, so 목적격 조사. Now we have 주제격 조사. Topic marker. Next, does anyone know the word for subject? The subject of something. Not the topic, but the subject. Well, in Korean, the word subject actually means whatever is the main topic, whatever is the main thing at hand. And the Hanja word for main is 주. You might know that. Like you might know the expression 주로, like mainly. 저는 주로 피자를 많이 먹어요. I mainly eat a lot of pizza. 저는 주로 whatever you do as the main. So 주 is main. And if you know main, you know the rest of it. 주격조사, because it's the main subject, whatever does anything mainly to the verb, whatever is doing that verb or being described by a verb, if it's a descriptive verb. 주격조사 is subject marker. So again, all three. 목적격조사, object marker. 주제격조사, topic marker. And now we have 주격조사, subject marker. Do you need to know any of these three words? No. And you probably shouldn't even bother unless you're already an advanced speaker. You probably shouldn't bother these, but you can feel free to learn them if you want. Now, I do have to clarify something. Since we're talking about advanced topics, this is an advanced topic. The topic marker, although it technically could be the 주제격조사, Koreans might not even recognize that term if they're studying languages, because unless they're studying their own language, there is no 주제격조사 in English or other foreign languages. It's a Korean or Japanese thing. So they really wouldn't know this word, even if they might know object marker and the others. If they're not familiar with this, another word you can use is the class of markers called the 보조사. 보 means a helper. 조 is like an assistant. Anyway, marker. Helper markers. They help out by adding information to the sentence. So this topic marker is actually inside of a class of what's known as 보조사. So if they're not familiar with 주제격조사, you can say it's a 보조사의 한 가지, like one type of 보조사. That's just one way to refer to it. Anyway, this is beyond what most people need, but like I said, this is an advanced topic. Okay, that is our lesson for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Now we will have a short Q&A. So if you have any questions for me, whether it's about the topic or something else, feel free to ask that right now. Oops, dropped the pen. Okay. Oh, and before we go, also remember no live class next Sunday. This was the third live class we had in a row. Next Sunday, it will be either an intermediate or an advanced lesson not next Sunday, the next class we have. So next Sunday, there is no live. That's right. The 28th of this month, there is no live class, but there will be the next Sunday after that, which will be in March. Okay. Now you can feel free to ask me any questions. I'll take questions for about 12, 15 minutes. Okay. Oh, Rebecca. Hey, thanks. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the class. I know some people really didn't want another beginner class, but you can trust me. I'm never going to make just a boring class for you guys. We're always going to learn some new stuff. Rebecca. Thank you, Rebecca. Really appreciate it. 5. You get a good workout. One of these days I'll get like $1,000 donation and my arms are just going to break off during class. Okay. Oh, Cheryl. Awesome, Cheryl. Nice. Thank you, Cheryl. Any larger donations also get a dance along with the dabs. You get a dab dance. Let's do the stars with this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thank you, Cheryl. Okay. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much for this class. Perfect. Glad you enjoyed it. Hope you get something out of it. Are all the particles 보조사? No, that would just be the topic. Topic particle is considered one of the class of 보조사. You can actually search, if you search on the internet 보조사, you can see some diagrams for the individual, for like how they classify each one, because they all have their own names. What's the meaning of 방법? 방법 means a method or a way of doing something. You can also use it for saying like the way to, like, do you know the way to do something? Do you know the way? Do you know how to use something? 방법, or do you know the way to learn Korean? The best way, the best method of learning Korean. That sort of thing would all be done with 방법. Abigail asks, is ita only used? No, you might have missed the beginning of the lesson. I talk about how ita is a descriptive verb, and descriptive verbs can never use the object marker. Are there situations where you cannot use noun hada but have to use noun hada? No. Nope. Because hada, like I said, hada means to do. No, there wouldn't be any situations where it'd be ambiguous. Because any sort of noun with hada would sound like noun, hada does a verb doing hada. So I usually add it in though anyway, even though it's not ambiguous, if I can, because it kind of has the feeling of like you're separating your words and making it really clear for them to hear it. But as far as meaning, no, it's going to make sense whether you use it or not with all of those verbs, which is kind of a nice thing. Now, there are verbs where you simply cannot use them because they're not a separated verb. Now, this has to be, like I said, this has to be a verb that can be separated. There are a lot of verbs that are hada that cannot be separated. Of course, a lot of descriptive verbs, but even action verbs, for example, like just one, 통하다. 통하다 has a few meanings. One of them is like when you are communicating well with someone, like, oh, we're on the same wavelength. 통해요, like this is not 통을하다 ever. 정하다, to set something, like to set something up, to decide something, that sort of meaning. 정하다, we set the date. This is never 정을하다. So it has to be a verb that would be presented in a form that can be split apart. So if you were to ever see a verb with the object marker and then hada, well, yes, you can split it. Otherwise, you cannot split it. A lot of those one syllable plus hada are not separable because of that. But mal hada can be. There's a lot of them that aren't. Is the verb marha that can be used with the object marker? Well, like I said, in that lesson I explained that using the object marker is what the verb is actually affecting. So if you are saying object, well, what are you saying? That's what it is that you're saying. Your actual speech, your words are the object, not the person you're talking to. So if you're saying something to a person, you have to use 에게 or ante, to that person. Not I told you, 당신을 말했어요. It doesn't make any sense, object marker. Because the object is what it is directly affecting, which is the speech, the words that you said. So you can say, what can you say? You can say an excuse, right? You can say a reason, 이유를 말하다, to say a reason, because that's the object of what you're saying. But you can't say, you can't tell, like you can tell a reason, but you can't tell a person that's telling something to a person. So yeah, you can use object markers, but like I'm saying, it doesn't have the meaning of to the person. You have to use to for the person that you're telling something to. Whereas in English, we don't really do that. We just say, I told him. I said, said we do. Said we actually do use object. Told we don't. Ask we don't. We just say, I asked you, or can I ask something? And they're both the same. But in Korean, ask something would be something, object marker, 물어보다, because you're asking something. But can I ask you? You're not asking, the person is not what you're asking. The person is who you're asking to. That's why it's tricky when you're using communication verbs. Okay. How do I say get used to or get used to? 익숙하다 is the one you want to use. 익숙하다 is to be used to something, but most of the time, if you just want to say 익숙해요, like I'm very familiar with it, to be familiar is what it means. But if you want to say to get, like to become familiar, that is, you take this verb and you do the become form, with 익숙해지다. 익숙해지다. So you can say, I'm getting used to it. Progressive tense. 익숙해지고 있어요. 익숙해지고 있어요. I'm getting used to it. I'm becoming used to it. If you just say, I am familiar with it, 익숙해요. I am familiar with it. Or you can say, I've already gotten accustomed to it. 익숙해져 있어요. 익숙해져 있어요. have already become to it. Used to it. You can use this with other forms too. So both of these are fine, but it just depends what do you want to say. Do you want to say I am familiar with it? A lot of times you want to say I got familiar with it, or I became familiar with it, or I'm already familiarized with that. In which case you would use 해지다, and then you would either use it in the progressive tense as 고 있다, or in the state tense, and I believe I do already have a lesson on that, which is the 오 있다 form. So that would be 익숙해져 있다. And that's like already have gotten accustomed to it. Yeah, like I'm already accustomed to it because I already got used to it. That sort of meaning you can do with 익숙해져 있어요. And yes, I do have a live stream about this, as well as a live stream comparing both of them. You can check that out in, it's on my channel in the playlists. I think it wasn't even too long ago. Maybe it was like last month or something, or 2 months ago. I did a live stream about that form. So someone's like, oh, what do you think about this in Korea? And you can say, 익숙해져 있어요. I'm already accustomed to it. I'm already used to it. Like I've gotten used to it and I still am. That sort of feeling. Is there an intermediate class on your channel? Intermediate lessons. There are tons of intermediate lessons as well as some advanced lessons on my channel. Especially check out the live streams. There's a lot of intermediate and advanced lessons in there. If you mean a series, my Korean Made Simple Book 3 enters the intermediate level, but it doesn't go beyond it. I forgot to pin merch. Oh yeah, that's actually a good reminder. For those of you who would like another way to support me, I also have, let's do this sweater here. I also have, oh, actually, let's pin this one. I also have some merchandise you guys can check out. I don't know if it's going to let me do it again. Anyway, yeah, I have some merchandise. It's branded merchandise if you guys are interested. There's a lot of different options. You can check it out. I made it as affordable as I could. I think the website suggests like I sell the sweater at $60 so that I make 30. And I'm like, nope. So I made it, I think it's like 30 bucks. I made it as cheap as possible so that I'm making a little money, but it's still like, you know, still supports me and still can pay for it. But yeah, there's some merchandise you can check out. It's pretty affordable actually. And I put a link in the chat that you can see. Cool. Billy, have you ever thought about doing a grading their grammar video about Jesse? About that, actually, starting tomorrow, pay attention tomorrow to my new video. I think it's going to be a new grading video, but it's something different. I'm going to be changing what I'm doing for grading. Now, when I upload those grading Korean videos, I really like doing them. They are completely 100% legal and fair use because I never use the whole clips and everything that I talk about is done with critique. So it's never, I also never pick any important bits. So I don't take any like the main part of a show. I don't have any long clips. Everything's sliced up really small. So it's completely fair use. However, still I've had several companies trying to claim copyright even though I'm using it fair use. So 100% fair use, I can use these clips just like the news can use short clips of things for reviewing, but I keep getting hounded by companies trying to claim copyright over my videos in that series. They just don't like that anyone's using their content no matter the reason. I'm not gonna name names, but there's some very big companies that are being very mean. So I don't wanna deal with it anymore. I'm a Korean teacher. My job is to teach Korean. I'm not a media lawyer. I don't have the time or the patience to deal with going through lengthy lawsuits just to get maybe a video that's going to make 50 bucks over its lifetime accepted and not copyright claimed. Like I don't have time to deal with it. If some company claims, I'm just going to delete the video. So I don't want to deal with those sort of things anymore. So I don't think I'm going to be doing any more of the grading Korean classes for celebrities. This might change. If there is a celebrity that you personally know that wants to give me permission to grade their stuff, that's great. I'll totally do it. I just don't want to deal with it anymore where I have to worry that the company's going to try to take my video or even actually most of the time they just try to take it down without fair cause because they don't like other people using their content no matter the reason. So I don't want to deal with that. It's too much stress, but I'm going to be changing the series around. So tomorrow there's going to be a very important announcement regarding the series. The series is not going away, but it's going to be changing directions to what I think is going to be much less stress and, in the end, still very useful to learners. It might not be as entertaining as, reviewing K-pop celebrities, but it should still be the same sort of content. So hopefully you guys will still like that. But yeah, the video will be up tomorrow morning, so you can check that out. Please do check that out. It's going to be a new announcement for the direction of that grading Korean series from now on. Okay. Do you have any solid advice for someone who is learning Korean? What order would you suggest? Just start with my free beginner video course if you'd like. If you want something free, you can start. It's right on my channel. It's almost finished, actually. It's already up to episode 90 almost. So if you start now, there's no way you would finish it before it's before it's finished uploading. And it'll go all the way up to, it'll pretty much cover all the very basic concepts. And it'll give you a good foundation for where you can go next. And then you can pick whatever series you want from there. But yeah, that's completely free. Nothing you have to do to access it. It's just on my channel. Lao says, would you consider making more videos about Saturi? Yeah, I've made a lot. Lao, what Saturi would you like to learn more about? I've already made videos about Busan dialect, Jeju dialect, North Korean, as well as all of the major dialects in Korea. Is there a different one you'd like to learn about? Intersim. Hey, Intersim. Is that Australian money? Sweet. Intersim. Thank you so much. Next time I visit my my cousins, my aunt in Australia, I'll spend that money there. I'll buy a didgeridoo, and go to one of those tourist restaurants and try some kangaroo meat or something like that. No, I'm just joking. Thanks. 2, 3, 4, 5. I've actually never been to Australia before. I'd like to go someday. It gets extremely hot there in the summer, and I'm afraid of all the spiders, to be honest. I don't know what I'd do. It just seems scary. Someday I'll get over there, but I haven't been over there yet before. Thank you. Let's see. Someone asks, what means 해야지, or any verb that ends with 야지? Ayakata. I have a full live stream about that topic. Please check it out on my channel. It is have to, but you can think of it as meaning like gotta. If you have anything that ends with like 야지, whatever, 가야지, 자야지, 해야지, it's like a gotta, like I gotta. That sort of slang meaning, but literally have to. And it's a shortened version of ya, 되지, or ya 하지, same thing, which is ya 해요, like I have to do something. Like 가야 해요, 가야 합니다, I have to go, must go. 가야 돼요. Same thing, 가야 되지, 가야지. You gotta, like, hey, you gotta do this. Anyway, that's all it is. Again, slang, casual. So you don't want to be spurting that out when you meet new people in Korea. You're like, oh, nice to meet you. 근데 나 이제 가야지. Like, I gotta go. I gots to go. Gots to take off. Just really awkward. So be careful about that. But that's what it means. 정주행. That's when you really like a Korean TV show and you want to binge it from the beginning. Like you're rewatching a whole series. They call that 정주행. I never used it before, but I've seen some other people use it. Like I'm just not that kind of. I don't usually rewatch dramas very much. I've done it a few times, but these days I'll rewatch movies, but not dramas or series like that. There's nothing to be scared about Australia. That's not true. That's what an Australian giant spider whumper drop panda would say. There's nothing scary here. Come on over, mate. Nothing to be scared of. It's just what they would say. I'm not falling for it. Did we do the whole live stream with no Charsu? I guess we did. Charsu was too busy for today's live stream. 철수를 못 봤어요. 철수가 오늘 안 왔어요. 철수 didn't come here. 수업은 좋습니다. Class is good. No, seriously. I'm not kidding. Okay, I'm going to stop the stream soon before I embarrass myself. I used to work, one of my jobs was as a Korean translator and technical support agent for, I think it was like, 3 years I worked there. And toward the end of my work, I also ended up managing accounts in Australia and New Zealand. I am stupid. I am so dumb, but I would try to imitate their accents because I had literally nothing else to do with my entire day at work. I would sit there, I would get one call every like 10, 20 minutes at most. And it was like a 2-3 minute call. And someone would call in Korean, and I'd translate, or Japanese sometimes. And I would just like listen to them and try to see if I could imitate them. And at the end of the call, I'd be like, I can't do it anymore. That was like, a long time ago, and I couldn't do it then either. But I'd be like, so did you think that I'm really from Australia? Or however I did it. I did it a little, I swear I was a little bit better than this though. And they'd be like, I could totally tell you're not from here, but nice try, or something like that. And the same thing with New Zealand. It was just kind of fun to try to see if I could can I trick them? Will they not notice I'm not actually Australian? And I would totally try to imitate their accent. That was fun. No one ever got mad. They never thought it was like offensive or anything. They're just like, nice try. But no, I totally know you're not from here. I guess it's harder than I thought to do that Australian or New Zealand accent. And one of my friends also was from, and right now, two of my friends I've had have been from New Zealand. And I know they sound very different, Australian and a New Zealand accent. But it was so hard to learn the difference between. They sounded exactly the same to me when I was first starting that job. Yeah, you have to take my word. I wasn't this bad, but I was not good. But it was like, if you do it like every single day for 6 months, then you kind of start picking up some stuff. I think it was a little better in New Zealand too, because the guy who sat right next to me in the cubicle next to me was from New Zealand. So I heard him talking all the time. But still, yeah, neither of them were any good. And now I can't, it's funny even trying to say I used to be able to do that, because now it just sounds horrible if I try to imitate it. Okay, one more question. Billy, can you pronounce 기억, 상기억, and 기억? Sure. Okay, this is my last question for today. Now, if you just have a consonant, you don't have any sound. This has no sound. I'll tell you this. This has 0 sound. This only has its letter name. This letter is called the 기억. Well, you don't even need to learn that. 상기억, 기억. But these letters themselves have no sounds until you add a vowel. So let's just add ah. But you could add any vowel. You could add o, u, i, ka, ka, ka. I'm not saying ka, like it's not a K. I'm not saying ga, right? I'm not doing that g sound. There's no throat sound. Ka, 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 ka. Now, of course, if you're speaking quickly, you might hear ka. It might sound more like a K, ka. And it might sound more like a G if you're saying it with a different word. But it's never ga and it's never ka. Ga. Ga. Before you say this one, you tense your tongue. Ga, ga, ga. You tense your tongue. You're not like tensing your throat and trying to do like Donald Duck or something. You just smash your tongue a little bit more tense against the top of your mouth before you release it. Now, how do you do that sound? Well, you actually naturally do these sorts of sounds in English, some of them. It's easier to hear this sound if it's not at the beginning of a word, but if it's in the middle of a word. For example, 아까 is the word that means just a while ago, just a second ago, just a bit ago, I just did something like, just a second, let's say earlier today I met this guy, or I just did that. 아까 했어요. 아까. So versus aga. Notice this is just one syllable after the next. Aga. This one is ah. You go up to that spot and you hold it there. You give a little bit more tense, a little bit more stress, and then you let it go. And then you let it go. Akka. There's a little pause. You hear there's a little bit of a pause here. Akka. You're not saying akka so much, not so quickly, although you could. Akka. So if you practice it inside of a sound, it might be easier for you to do it versus just trying to say ga, 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 because it's going to sound the same to you if you're not accustomed to that. So try these two, aga, aka, ga. And it's the same for any sound. So we can do it with e. Igi, igi. This is not a word. Let's do agi. At least it sounds better. Agi is like a word for baby. Agi. Aki is not a word, but we're just going to make it for today. Aki, gi, gi, gi. I don't really want to put my mouth in the camera. It's disgusting. But gi is just said normally. Gi, you like smash your tongue against your top molars. Aki, aki, aki. A little bit when you do it. Ka. This one's the most just like a straight up K. Ka, ka. It has the most air coming out of your mouth. So if we have if we put before here, we get aga, aka, aka, ka, ka. Like you go to Britain and you need to rent a car to go drive to the museum or whatever. Ka. It's just a straight, stronger sound. Now, it's the same tongue position, the same way you make it, but you add a lot more air. So ka, 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 ka. Now you can say this one with varying amounts of air depending on your mouth shape, how angry you are, how soft or loud you're talking, who you are, Everyone will say it a little differently. Some people might say ka, ka, or ka, ka, but it's the same sound. This one would be ka, ka, more of a loud sound. Ka, 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 k, k, k. Lot more air. So ka, ka. It's more of that k sound in it versus ga, which has stress. And it's the same, this difference is the same for all of those combinations. Or what am I doing? Da, da, aja, 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 acha, acha, aja, aja, acha, like that. And this one doesn't have a strong version, but there's this one. Asa, asa. Asa is not a Korean word anymore. I think it might have been an older Korean word. Anyway, asa, it's also a Japanese word today, unrelated. And then asa, asa. Notice how it goes up to that S, that sound, and it holds it a little bit more stress. You get asa, asa, asa. Asa is actually what you say when you're like, yippee, yoo-hoo, yeah! That's asa. So if someone says they're going to give you something for free, you can say asa, like that. Asa. That's the difference. So it's the same. This one doesn't have a strong version though. There is no, don't ever do this. Don't ever add anything to it. There's no strong version of this. Okay. That is all for today's lesson. Hopefully that was useful to at least a couple of you. Thank you everyone for coming. Remember, you can get a worksheet and the outline for today's live stream for Patreon for every Patreon member. So even the $1 Patreon level, thank you so much. You still get access to all of the worksheets and outlines. The outline for today's stream will be up within 30 minutes. There's also active Discord. If you're interested in that, chatting with other people, practicing your Korean, you can find a link in the description. I have one-to-one tutoring available. If you have any questions about that, you can ask me or ask someone else to send you the link for that. And remember, there is no live class again next Sunday. So that is our lesson for today. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you again to everyone who donated. Lauren, Bethany, Timmy Turner, Furcheek, Susie, Jewel, Grandpa, Mikey, Rebecca, Cheryl, and InterSim. Thank you again, and I will see you all next time. 그럼 다음에 또 봐. I forgot. I don't want to do it down. So then I have to edit that in the video. 그럼 다음에 또 봐. Hyunwoo, you can't just drop into my stream after I finish it. I'm like taking off my hat, like ripping off my shirt, like taking everything down, and then Hyunwoo's just like makes it rain into my channel. What is this? I didn't even know you were watching. I didn't even know you were here, Hyunwoo. Let me do some dabs for you. It's ruining my stream. I'm trying to go home early, okay? Beat traffic. I'm stuck in this forest. My car is parked over there. I'm gonna get stuck in traffic now. Oh wait, let's do this one. Okay. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. By the way, Hyunwoo, when are you gonna do some? When are you gonna start doing live streams again? I miss your guys' live streams. You gonna copy my background? You gonna copy my background again? You can have it. It's free. Anyone's free to come here. Billy, my encore. Yeah, ripping off my shirt. Well, I mean, I got another shirt under here. Oh, I shouldn't do that. That's too risque for this live stream. Hold on, I gotta go back up. I don't want the ladies to get the wrong ideas. I donated by mistake. Hyunwoo? Oh my goodness. Okay, I thought I was doing. Oh, come on. That's not necessary at all. That's not nice. Okay, just for that I'm gonna close my stream early. All right, everyone, it's over now. I'm gonna see you guys later. Take care. Bye, everyone. 그럼 다음에 wait, what was it? 그러면 다음에 또 보게. As Hyunwoo said in his other class. All right, see you guys. Go study Korean or do something. I don't know.